Hey there recipe decoders, today I want to demonstrate how to make some really intense, yet tasty, chocolate cookies. And for this recipe, you're going to need 2 2/3 cups or 450 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 2 cups or 280 grams of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup or 45 grams of cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of baking powder, 1 teaspoon or 6 grams of salt, 10 tablespoons or 130 grams of unsalted butter, 1 1/2 cups or 340 grams of brown sugar, 1/2 cup or 105 grams of white sugar, 4 medium or large eggs, 2 teaspoons or 4 grams of instant coffee, and 2 teaspoons or 5 milliliters of vanilla extract. Firstly, grab a large bowl alongside with a rubber spatula, and then add in the flour, the cocoa powder, the baking powder, and the salt. And then give all of the dry ingredients a good stir. And then set it aside for later. Moving over to the stovetop, place a saucepan filled with a good bit of water onto one of the burners, and then place a medium-sized mixing bowl on top of it. And then add in the semi-sweet chocolate chips. I used a glass bowl, but a stainless steel bowl would be fine too. But make sure the water in the saucepan does not touch the bottom of the mixing bowl, because this has a chance to burn the chocolate. The chocolate should basically melt on its own, but I just kept stirring to speed up the process and to also check to see if it was burning. And once all of the chocolate has melted, go ahead and remove it from the stove and set it aside for later. Now, grab your mixing bowl and attach it to the stand mixer, along with the flat beater attachment mixing blade. And then first, go ahead and add the butter. If anything is stuck to the mixing blade, just push it back down into the bowl. Next, add in the brown sugar and the white sugar. And then continue to mix it on a low speed setting. Next, add in all 4 eggs one at a time. The second egg, the third egg, and the fourth egg. Before adding in the instant coffee, mix it with 2 teaspoons or 10 milliliters of hot water first. Next, go ahead and add the vanilla extract. Now, turn off the stand mixer and get ready to add in the melted chocolate. Feel free to do this with a spoon and take your time because it is a bit tricky to get all of it in there. Just scrape as much of it into the mixing bowl as you can. And then resume mixing it on a low to medium speed setting. Finally, it's time to add in the dry ingredients. However, to reduce the chance of it spewing everywhere and making a big mess, add in just about half of it first. Then resume mixing on a low speed setting. Then, once the first half of the dry ingredients has mixed in properly, go ahead and add in the rest of it and repeat the process. By this point, the cookie dough should be finished, so go ahead and clean the mixing blade and remove everything from the stand mixer. And last, set it aside for later. Now, grab yourself a baking sheet. In this case, I'll be using 2 sheets. Each of them will be lined with parchment paper. And as you can see here, just use a bowl or any slightly heavy object to help lay out the parchment paper into the baking sheet. This is only necessary if you have trouble laying down the parchment paper. Then, whip out the trusty 7/8 ounce ice cream scoop and begin to lay out the cookies onto the baking sheets. If you were wondering why the cookie dough was covered, it is because the original recipe suggests letting the dough sit for several minutes. Leaving it to sit for 15 to 20 minutes should be fine. For both baking sheets, I spread out the cookies in a checkered pattern. Try to keep them at least 2 to 3 inches apart. And now, the baking sheets can go in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. Finally, here's how they look after baking and letting them cool for about 10 minutes after. It is important to let them cool first before removing them from the baking sheets. They are quite soft to touch, and if you try to remove them from the baking sheets too fast, there's a chance they'll break apart. Afterwards, you can simply transfer them over to a large container to let them cool longer. And here's a small snippet of me preparing the next batch. This time, instead of using the checkered pattern, I went with a 3x4 array to fit a total of 12 cookie doughs onto one of the baking sheets, just to speed things up a little. Here they are after baking, and again, let them cool for about 10 minutes first, before removing them from the baking sheets. Then, transfer the previous batch into a large bowl and place the current batch into the cooling container. Repeat this cycle as many times until all of the cookie dough is used up. Finally, everything is done. I ended up with about 50 cookies in total following this recipe. So now it's time to taste test it, but obviously I'm not going to eat all of them in one sitting. So I'll try about 3 to 5 of them instead for now. So, what can I say about these cookies? Well, frankly, they omit a strong chocolatey smell. My entire kitchen had the smell of chocolate lingering after baking them. Breaking them apart isn't too difficult either. They aren't hard or crunchy like your typical cookie should be. In fact, as I bit into them, it felt like I was eating fudge. And that's exactly it. These are essentially fudge cookies, and I definitely like them, so give them a try. And that's it for this recipe video. Did your double chocolate cookies come out great? If so, leave a like and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more uploads. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.